I am actually Dr. Abraham Garcia, normally in the net. I have a PhD in economics, but right now I'm living in Jerusalem, and I have a business here. I will tell you a little bit later about it. We are here to tell my story of how did I arrive here to Jerusalem, and I start from always telling that I was born in a Catholic family in Spain, in Cordoba, and all my youth I grew up being Catholic. When I was 25 years, I started a PhD in economics in the Netherlands, and by that time Spain was still a very autarkic country. I was born just when Franco died, so the whole autarky, you still could feel it in many levels. So there were no Jews around us. I never met any Jewish person, and the first time I met people that was Jewish was when I started the PhD in the Netherlands. So the story goes like this: I start my PhD and I start meeting people. The PhD was done with the United Nations, with an institution that worked with the United Nations. It was like the Maastricht University together with the United Nations. And at that time, I was making friends from all people around the world. What was funny is that the Jewish people were coming to me and asking me if I was Jewish. So why did they ask? I don't know. It was kind of a repeated pattern, in the sense that when I was very friendly with everybody, but I was feeling that I was becoming more friend with Jewish people, even without knowing that they were Jewish. So it all happened that I was getting very close to them, and then they were coming to me, and when we were alone, my name was Abraham. That was the name that was given to me always at birth. So they were always asking if I was Jewish. And I would say, no, I'm not Jewish, I'm Catholic. And I was not lying, at that time I thought that I was Jewish, that I was Catholic, So it happened many times in a period of maybe 5-6 months, okay? So it was a Jew, for example, that was coming from California, who was not religious, but he came and asked me, are you Jewish? And then I said, no, I'm not Jewish, I'm Catholic. First time, nothing happened, this is just a funny question. Second time, somebody from France, he came to me also and asked me, are you Jewish? And then I was saying, no, I'm not Jewish, I'm Catholic. Oh, okay, and they never go any farther, no? Then there was somebody from Argentina who was coming to me and asking me, but are you Jewish? No, I'm not Jewish. So it happened like a bunch, I would say 4 or 5 times. I was going to a conference, and then, for example, I was meeting people, and then the people will come to me and ask me, are you Jewish? And all of a sudden, it happened a lot of time. I remember there was a colleague with us that was coming from Ukraine, and she was the one that says, she was the first one, after these 4 or 5 times, she was the first one who came to me and said, you're Jewish, and you're hiding it. And I was like shocked, because I said, like, what the hell is happening? This is the first time that they are not coming asking me if I'm Jewish. They are coming with the certainty that I'm Jewish. And all this started to already trouble me a little bit in the mind, like, why the hell is all this happening to me? Why are there so many people coming to me and asking me if I'm Jewish? Then I remember eating a pizza with a guy from California, who came again to Maastricht, and then we were like having a nice person. So he was actually saying, you're Jewish, you might be Jewish, and you don't know. And then I said, how is that possible? And then my answer was to give the answer that I have learned when I study history in Spain. All the Jews left in Spain in 1942, in 1492. And I said, okay, so how is it possible that there are Jews if all of them left Spain? And then he answered me, this is what they have taught you, but it's not the truth. There are a lot of people who remain in Spain and they were Jewish. And they are called Anusin, they are called Marranos, they are called... And for me, I didn't know what to say or how to continue, but this troubled me a little bit more, and I started like thinking, maybe this is true, or maybe this is why everybody's coming and asking me if I'm Jewish. So at the same time, I started talking to my mother, started like asking, do we know anything? Nobody in the family actually knew anything. We didn't do anything special. There was no candle lighting. There was no, well, if you look, like there are some ways of sweeping the floor. You know that they say that we put the dirt in the middle of the. This we do, for example. Okay, this is something that we do. I have never seen anybody like sweeping towards the door. But I don't know if that was enough. But what is true that there was always in the family is like a big respect for education. So education was a very important value, and they always everybody pushed for the children to go to the school, to go to the university, to make as much as you could. Our parents, for example, could not do it because they were under Franco and there was no money. But as soon as they were able, they pushed us to go to the university, to make PhD, to grow as much as we could. So that time I was doing the PhD in the Netherlands, and I was always a very spiritual person. I was still going to the church because I felt myself that I was Catholic. But it was all like a very hectic time in which I don't know anymore, because I started doubting that I was Catholic because I wanted to be Catholic. And this idea that somebody could have imposed me my belief made me already very uneasy, you know, like I didn't know what to believe or how to believe, or I began angry with the church. And at the same time, I started studying a little bit of the Torah, and I wanted to, I remember always that was the first contact with the Me'an Loed, which is like a commentary of Sephardic commentary that explains the Torah, and I said, you know, I was teaching myself in the university, and I said, you have a book, but you are never able to get as much from the book as you are able to get from a professor. The professor gives you like much more information. So if I want to learn the Torah, the written Torah, I was saying I can learn, but the oral Torah I will never be able to learn. So I decided I want to talk to the priest, to the rabbi here in the Netherlands. So I went to the Netherlands, into Maastricht, and I went to talk to the rabbi there. There was a beautiful synagogue, and there was a Rabbi Lubavitch there. And then I just knocked on the door. I said, listen, I don't know if you teach any Torah, but I'm interested in following the courses, you know, like I don't know if there is any chance for me to come here and sit and learn a little bit once a week or whatever. And then the first question that he made was, are you Jewish? And if he has made me this question like 6 months before, I would have said, no, I'm Catholic. But at that moment, I told him the truth. I have no idea if I'm Jewish, you know. Everybody's coming me asking me if I'm Jewish. They tell me this story that I didn't know from the Jews, from the hidden Jews of Spain. So I don't know what to tell you, you know. I'm not. And then he told me, maybe you should make a conversion. And then we are on the safe side of the. And at that moment I said, listen, I'm not interested, you know, in making conversion. If I'm Jewish, I'm Jewish. If not, I'm not Jewish. You know, the only thing I ask for you is like whether I can learn here. And then he told me, well, if you don't want to make conversion, then you will have to look for the mother of the mother of the mother from your mother on the maternal side and arrive to the Inquisition. And then he told me, you can study with us if there is another Jew present. If not, you cannot teach, you know, like I cannot teach you, but if there is another Jewish person that is present, I don't have any problem on you sitting here. But then I started thinking, you know, like if the only way to know if I'm Jewish is look for the mother of the mother of the mother, I will have to start like, I make a promise to myself and I said, I'm going to research as much as I could, you know, I started from the beginning and do whatever I have to do. Put the money that I have to put to actually figure out if we are Jewish or if we are not Jewish. And that was the moment that I started the research of my own family. It took me 7 years to put all the papers together. I was not, at that time, I was not a professional. I was 25, you know, 26 maybe. I was not a professional genealogist. I didn't know where I have to look. I have no idea, so I have to do all the research. I didn't even know how could I find that I was Jewish doing a genealogical study. Because the only place that I was looking was in the church records. So if you are looking in the church records, there is no chance actually that you are going to find somebody Jewish, because everybody that is in the church records are Christians. But then I found somebody on the net, and she told me what you have to do is crisscross these records with the Inquisition records, and then you will see that the family is actually Jewish or not, you know. But this is the goal that you have to. So it took me a long time to actually, it was a very long process in which I remember some evenings my friends were going to have a beer after the work, and I was going, you know, to the research center to actually, you know, like spend hours and hours. At that time there was no computer, So the records were in microfilms, and then you have to spend like a lot of time and then ask for a new microfilm that it takes 2 weeks to come back, you know. So it was a very long process. In the meantime, the records got uploaded to the net, and then you could actually research online, even though it was a very long process because you have to read. Sometimes I remember like taking a whole book from the church that might be like, I don't know, 1,000 pages, and going through all of them to actually figure out who's the mother from who and who is so it was a big research, and at the end it was very funny. So I arrived to one village in Spain. The roots of the family, it was coming from a specific village in Spain called Almagro, and they were Jews there. And it was funny enough, there was Almagro is very close to a very big city which is Ciudad Real. So there was a PhD thesis that was written by a professor here in Jerusalem, Chaim Beinart. He passed away, but the time that I studied he was still alive, and I knew he has done his whole PhD on researching the Jews from Ciudad Real. So my goal was actually to be able to put the hands on his PhD thesis. So this is the next step. I already grew the tree a lot, so then I have to put the hands on this PhD thesis. I went everywhere in Spain. No, there was no copy anywhere in the whole Spain. I went to the Central Library, who's supposed to have a copy of every book. I went to everywhere. The National Library, I couldn't find a copy of his thesis. But at that time, I started a postdoc in Switzerland, okay, in Lausanne. And I remember that the woman told me, because you are a new researcher here, we're going to introduce you to the library. So she gave me like a very nice introduction to the library, and she showed me all the economic books, which is the field that I was working. And then when she left, I asked her, can I research just economic books, or I have all the library from me? And you can do all the library if you want. And then the first question that I put in the system, it was Chaim Beinart. And then I found that in Switzerland, the thesis. I was very touching because I knew the family tree. I have the family tree with me. And then I saw the names, I saw the names, and I saw this guy is coming from Almagro, which was, he was studying from Ciudad Real, but I knew it was Almagro. And then it took me at that time I realized this is too much of a casualty to actually be happening, But I realized that this is actually what is happening, we are the Jews. It was clear to me that I was Jew, But I continued the research, and I went to Spain. I went to the archives, to the Inquisition records that are in Madrid. I went also to Ciudad Real, to the historical archives in Ciudad Real to find more documents. And then actually I found that that is true, that it's not just one mother, because you always think, how is it possible that the last mother is going to be Jewish? And what I found is that this branch of the family, the last 400 years, they were all living in this Almagro community, and they were getting married with each other. And at the beginning, they were coming from Toledo, and they were Jews. So there was no doubt that this person, that the father, the mother, the cousin, that everybody. So it's not just one person. You arrive to a moment that is all the family was Jewish, and they were trying to hide it. So at this stage, I was living. I went back to Spain. I started working in Seville. It was very difficult also because I knew I was Jewish, but if I go to the community, they say, no, you are not Jewish, you cannot prove it. And I will tell them, but I know that I'm Jewish, I have all the papers here, this is what it says, the halakha, everybody, no, it's not worthy. And then I understood that I knew I was Jewish, but I needed like a tribunal or somebody, like a rabbinical tribunal, to put stamp on the papers, on the work that I have done. And so it was very, very difficult, because everybody wanted to convert me very quickly, but nobody was actually trying to understand what I was trying to say, that we are Jews. And I also felt that when I started my research, I thought that a lot of people have done this. So I was imagining, you do this, you put all the papers together, you come into an institution or whatever, and there might be somebody there who knows how does it work, if this is what the halakha says, and a lot of people have done it, nothing, So I found that nobody really knew what they have to do, that there was no expert here. There were researchers who could say the papers are truth, so there was a professor who said the papers are truth, but I'm not. I don't have the right to say that you're Jewish. You know, like this has to be said by a tribunal, by a lahical tribunal. So then I said, okay. So there was somebody, a woman. I don't know if I'm allowed to say the name, but she helped me a lot. So she helped me a lot. And she put me in contact with the tribunal, with the Sephardic tribunal here in Jerusalem. So I came and they gave me not a conversion, but what is called a return certificate. So it's like a teshuva, okay? So the difference is basically, well, I learned all the halacha, it's not that I didn't learn, or in the process I taught myself what you have to do, I learned the mitzvot, I learned everything. But it was for me a very big pride that to actually have somebody who says you are Jewish, you know, and we recognize the whole lineage, you know, because it makes a whole different also from the halachic point of view. Why? Because if you convert, your mother is not Jewish, but if you make it with the lineage, then your mother is still Jewish. So nobody can come and tell you, you know, you cannot eat in the because your mother is not Jewish. No, if I'm Jewish, it's because my mother is Jewish also, you know, and it opens up also the chance for all the family, if they ever decide to come back, to know that the research has been done and has been approved. But it was funny. Why? Because I remember going to Gibraltar, for example, and the rabbi there was fascinated with the story. Also because in Gibraltar there are a lot of Jews, and the Jews always said that they were coming there, that there were a lot of people, so they knew much better than me the story from the NOC. So this rabbi was very funny because he was very interested. He asked me a lot of questions, blah 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 blah. He has no problem because I didn't have to count in the median for him because he has a lot of Jews always. In Sevilla was different. In Sevilla it was accepted, you know, and to count in the median and everything. So at the level of Spain, I was okay as soon as I didn't leave Spain. But when I was in Gibraltar, I felt that this guy, you know, like this guy, he has something funny, you know, like I don't think if he will actually take all my papers with me, you know, like if he will count me as a Jew here. After all this work and after the tribunal from Jerusalem has said yes. So I let it, I let the time pass, and he actually, he sent me somebody, like there was a woman. I have this woman, and she wrote to me and she said, I'm getting in contact with you because the rabbi from Gibraltar is telling me that you know that I'm not Jewish, but my children, I'm coming from London, my children have been always raised Jewish. Now we arrive here to Gibraltar, my husband is Jewish, but I'm not Jewish. And then he says, if you can help him, if you could help me to find out my Jewish roots, you know. And then I told this woman, listen, I don't mind to help you 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, but it took me 7 years, so I will have to charge you some money. And what is even worse is that I have the feeling that even if we do all the work, even if you know, like if we find the roots, even if the tribunal from Jerusalem accept you, I still feel this guy is not gonna accept you. And I'm gonna show you how. And then I said, dear Rabbi, I'm thinking, I have no job right now, which was true, and I'm thinking about moving to Gibraltar. But I will only move if you are actually counting me as a Jew. If not, I'm not even thinking about the option. And then he told me, if you want, I can help you with the conversion. Which meant he did not count me. Okay, so I sent this to the woman. I said, listen, save your time and don't spend any time with the conversion, because what he's trying to do is to get rid of you, but he's not actually being serious. Even if you find, look, he knows I have it and he's not accepting me. But this put me in a very funny situation because it meant we follow the tribunal from London, and London is not the tribunal from Jerusalem. And then you get in the, so which means, so it means like if I'm in Spain I'm Jewish, but if I'm outside of Spain I'm not Jewish, what the hell are you doing, you know? And then there was the moment that I decided, you know, like the best thing is go back to Israel, you know, make Aliyah, go there, get your passport, Israeli passport, and you know. And I didn't want to come here, but everything pushed me here. So I lost my job, which was a very good job. And then I wanted to get married. I was not married, and there were no Jewish women around there. So I have moved a lot of times from country before, you know, I knew how difficult it was, and I felt also that I was old enough, like I was around 38 when I made Aliyah. And I knew I have to learn Hebrew, which is not an easy language, and I will have to start again. But I knew also that I have two chances. At my life, at this stage, I thought I can remain here in Spain in a very low profile or try to live the life going to Israel. I didn't have any other choice. So I came here, And Baruch Hashem, everything started working. I met a girl, I got married, now I'm living in Jerusalem, I have right now 2 kids. So it's a happy ending for the story.
Your parents, how did they react when you started the process?
Yeah, at the beginning of the story, at the beginning they were very enthusiastic also, because somebody was researching the family and somebody got interested in the family, and they always knew that we were coming from an important family, that and I actually, they didn't know why they were important, but they knew that they were coming from a relevant family. So at the beginning of the process was very interesting because I found big professors in the family. I found like people from the nobiliary that have like important, they have money, they have power. So it was very interesting. But the moment that they understood that I actually wanted to come here to Israel, and Israel is not like the safest place in the world to be, it became a taboo. So they decided we are not going to talk about this, and I have very good relation with my parents. We are not talking about Jewish things or whatever. So it's a funny reaction. Some people in the family said you are crazy. Now we are Jews because you say that we are Jews. Some people say this looks like a curse. That even 500 years you are digging and you are able to find like something. And I said, like, I did this for myself, for my own spiritual search. You can take it or leave it. If you're not interested, your children might be interested, So I cannot do anything, I didn't push anything. I came very quietly here. And I don't know, I think, I know I'm happier here than I would have ever been in Spain. So
you're describing a path, a search for your roots and who you are, ethnically or historically, but somewhere in this story there must have been something about a belief that it was important to be a Jew.
It was not important to be a Jew, it was important to know who I was and to be whatever I was. Like you say, if you research and I find out that I was a Hindu or that my father was, I will not be here, I will be somewhere else. But if I was Jew, then I'm Jew, like I cannot do anything. I didn't want to convert, I didn't want to change. I was interested, but if it was something that it was you, I'm also, it was at the same time that there was like a genealogical research. There was a spiritual research, because I was always very spiritual. And at that moment, when I decided, like for example, the rabbi says you can never read the gospel, because the gospel is not Jewish, So this comes from. But at the moment that I decided to be Jewish, I have already learned and memorized almost the gospel, and I was feeling something was not right. I didn't know what it was, like there was not enough depth in the teaching, in what they were saying, that I was missing deepness on the teaching. And I remember talking to the priest and asking, I want more, I want to learn more, give me more books to read, and then he told me, there is no more, you have already finished with all what we have. So there is a limit to what you're able to learn, and there is, from this moment onwards, you have to just believe. But this was, for me, was like, it was not right. So when I started discovering the Torah, and then I started discovering that the rabbi says, if you ask the rabbis, it's impossible to finish the number of commentaries that you have. So the deepness of knowledge is almost Ein Sof, without any end, and this, even just the fact to know that I will never finish, it gives me peace. I don't know how to say, it's not that I want to learn everything, or but the sensation that there will be always something else to learn and that you can improve, and it's a never-ending. And I understood that I was more comfortable here than I was there. Also, I never liked football in Spain since I was a child. And when you're a guy and you don't like football, you ended up like being very isolated. So, and I was feeling always awkward there. So I remember one time here, I was in the synagogue and I was just with men, and we were all praying together, and I felt for the first time, this is the kind of man I want to be. It's not talking about football, it's being here praying and learning Torah all together. I felt home, I also remember I made Aliyah to Haifa, and I've been living anywhere, and I didn't want to come here because it was very difficult. I remember going to the Naal, to the port, which was the place that we have like the lessons and everything. And I was in the bus, and all of a sudden I said, I don't want to leave this country. And I was talking to Hashem. I said, leave me under a bridge, but don't pull me out from here. I don't understand why. It was a sensation of belonging, of completely belonging to the place, And also because I have traveled so much, like I traveled before so much that when I was going back to Spain, I was very awkward to my friends, who had been always like living there. So when I arrived here and I understood that everybody was coming from everywhere, it made me feel like I'm more like these people than I am from Spain, So I don't know, it felt right, I don't know, it is this sensation. Also, I'm still in Jerusalem, and I feel this love. Sometimes I feel it's very weird. With the children and everything, very difficult to pray. But I have this feeling, I have this relation with the mountain, with Moria, with Mount Moria. And I have this sensation that there is like some connection of love or whatever that I don't understand. Like even if there will be no city, I still feel that they will have the love for that specific place. But from where did it come, I don't understand. And I feel that the love came before the person. I already have this love for this place, and I'm not able to explain, No, I don't know.
Do you have brothers, sisters?
I have brothers and sisters. I have a brother and I have a sister, and none of them is interested in becoming Jewish or becoming more religious or not at all. They're not even. They are Catholic, but they don't care. The society in Spain has become very not religious at all. At the end of the day, it's my family. I want to be close to them, and this is also a thing that I like from being Jewish. It's me and Hashem. And I don't have a rabbi in the middle who has to order me what I have to do. And I do whatever I think is right in my heart. I'm happy to listen to what you have to do, but the decision is mine.